let's dig in with the Patriots, shall we? Right? Because sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and the Patriots always seem to beat the Steelers until yesterday when, in spite of the fact the defense played well enough for them to win the game, it was the offense that let them down. Now, I've seen the breakdowns from Dan Orlovsky that he shows over on the other network that, hey, they're double-teaming Gronk, they're double-teaming Edelman, and they're saying somebody else beat us and no one else can beat it. And some of this is the change we've seen in the Patriots. And that change, very simply, that change is that they are no longer a spread you out underneath sharp cutting team. They, at their core, want to be a power running team that uses play action, that uses Sony Michel to create openings for their wide receivers, or the previous two, Edelman and Gronkowski, who were mentioned. The problem with that is the Steelers have changed and evolved. They're still good against the run, but they can play man-to-man defensively, what they couldn't do previously. Previous regime, different defense, different personnel. They've evolved and changed. And so the matchup is actually more favorable to Pittsburgh than it used to be. And so some of it was matchup-based. But here's my biggest takeaway. Like, look, some of these takeaways are really simple. You watch the Colts and you watch the Cowboys. Daniel Jeremiah joins us every week on the show. Daniel Jeremiah, of course, Move the Sticks podcast, former front office executive, former quarterback in his own right, current analyst for the NFL Network, and he says tractor or trailer, right? A tractor can pull an entire franchise. A trailer is good, but has to be pulled by others. You watch the Colts, you watch the Cowboys, one quarterback is a tractor, Andrew Luck, one quarterback is a trailer, Dak Prescott. That analysis is pretty simple. And you know what? Here's some analysis you need from the New England Patriots. The Patriots look a little bit long in the tooth? Yep. Father Time seem to be catching up with Tom Brady? Yep. Do they appear to have a little bit better defense and a little bit worse offense? Yep. And you know who is not surprised by any of this? That would be William Belichick. I'm always blown away by this idea that Bill Belichick somehow lost it before the Super Bowl last year. You know, I know he's been a genius. I know he's authored the greatest franchise in modern football history. I am not a Patriots fan. Okay? I am not. I've never worn a Patriots jersey. I've been to Patriots games. And I'm not, but I don't cheer for really any team. I'm a Charger fan, but even them, I'm not a pom-pom waving Charger fan. I'm not. But if you cannot at least admit that that's the most successful franchise in the history of professional football's modern era, you're not paying attention. And you can sit there and say, well, they went a decade without winning Super Bowl. Yes, but all that entire decade, they had double-digit wins. You go on 17 straight years of dominance and in a league which is designed to make the best move back down, right? First place schedules hurt first place teams. Fourth place schedules help fourth place teams. So that everyone is 9-7, 7-9, and all these games at the end of the season, or as many of them as possible, actually matter. So he has authored the greatest franchise in the history of modern professional football. We're okay with that? Good. And you can make the argument, and I would, it's the greatest franchise run in the history of professional sports. Because it's had a salary cap, because they've had different incarnations, because they've played different styles, and because of how the league is designed. As opposed to Major League Baseball, when the Yankees won, for example, their 5 World Series with Derek Jeter there, the fact is that sport is not created the same. Everybody is not intended to be equal. Didn't have a salary cap, then they put in the luxury tax. It's not the same as an actual hard salary cap. And first place to fourth place schedules. That's what the NFL has. I'd offer to you that the Patriots are the greatest. They have the greatest run in the history of modern professional sports. So when he didn't play Malcolm Butler, except for one play in the Super Bowl, suddenly he became an egomaniac who had a personal vendetta against a player because of contract negotiations or whatever reason. or he knows a hell of a lot more about football than we do. Now, I think a certain portion of it is he may have been willing to lose a game in order to win this year and win in the future. No player puts himself above. Some of it might be that he had more information than we've ever been given about Malcolm Butler. Like, remember, people don't tell the entire story about Malcolm Butler. He had not only been awful most of the year, he was awful in the playoffs. And he didn't show up for workouts and checked himself into the hospital the day before the team was going to leave, and he wasn't on the team flight to the Super Bowl. Like, man, how could he not play him? Well, because when he was putting in his game plan, he didn't know if he was going to be in the hospital or not. And if you don't think there's a breakdown in communication between player and team, why didn't the player go to the team doctor? Anyone? Anyone? So, with all that being said, there was this assumption that Bill Belichick had lost it. Or maybe Bill Belichick knew. Because remember, the other story we heard about last year was Bill Belichick was putting things in position so that he would have an heir apparent, a successor to Tom Brady. Tom Brady's own dad about 5 years ago said, hey, he expected Tom Brady to play elsewhere to end his career because that's what happens with Patriots. And the story came out that Belichick wanted to have a backup in place to eventually be the successor so that they keep the run going, and ownership overruled him. So when yesterday Tom Brady looked old, I'm not saying that it was all his fault that Rob Gronkowski doesn't look old. Gronk looks old. But the same approach they had with Gronk was, hey, dude, we're not going to give you a big new long-term contract because we know that you're about a year away from being washed. They didn't go through all those different wide receivers in the preseason, early in the season, because they felt good about their group. None of this stuff is new information to Bill Belichick. None of it. You think Bill Belichick knows that they look old? Hell, he's like, yep. I told them this is what's going to happen if we hold on to guys. The Patriot way has never been to hold on to guys. We don't have retirement years, retirement ceremonies. Guys go away, they come back. We recognize their success. They go onto TV. They go into private business or whatever. It happens to all of them. Brady was only different because the owner had his back and because Tom Brady. But as Belichick would tell you, he's just a football player. A really good, really talented football player at the most important position in the sport. So look, this is not me telling you that the Patriots are done. A lot of things had to go their way last year in order for them to get to the Super Bowl. People forget all that. Right? They forget that the Chargers should have been the playoffs, that the Ravens should have been the playoffs, that they played the Jacksonville Jaguars. They should have played on the road in Pittsburgh, if not for the stupid catch rule, which we still kind of don't really know what a catch is. Well, it's different, but it's the same, but it's different. Got it? Yep, sure, cool. Close enough. We've now gotten into the close enough. But they did get to the Super Bowl. They didn't punt in the Super Bowl. They still had the ball down 5 with the greatest quarterback in terms of Super Bowl success, postseason success in modern football history with a chance to win the game. And he misread the coverage and he fumbled the football. But everybody forgets all that because we thought Bill Belichick lost his mind. He started making personal decisions instead of business decisions. That's not how it is with Belichick. It's always been business.
It's not personal. It's strictly business.
That's why Malcolm Butler didn't play. That's why he wanted to move on from Brady. Bill Belichick didn't forget football. He's forgotten more about football than all of us will know. You don't author the greatest franchise run and success story in modern sports history unless you're willing to at some point cut bait with players who've gotten over the hill. And the difference is that the ownership made it personal. And when that intersects with business, is what you have. I mean, look, that said, Patriots still have a great shot to win 11 games. You got Bills, Jets down the stretch. And, you know, you look around the sport and you're like, does anybody, if they have to go into Houston, do you think the Patriots are scared at all of the Houston Texans who just survived the Jets? The answer is no. A team they've already beaten this year. The answer is no. And by the way, the Texans have to go to the Eagles, who have remembered, like, hey, we're actually pretty good at football when we run the football. So there's a bunch of different stuff to get to. Cowboys and Colts analysis is easy. Patriots is a little bit harder, but you're going to have to admit that Bill Belichick knows what the hell he's doing. And if you don't believe me, I got 18 years of data to prove he knows what he's doing. He didn't all of a sudden lose his mind with Malcolm Butler, didn't all of a sudden lose his mind with his desire to find an heir apparent to Brady.